what I think would have happened is they had a bunch of empty beer bottles
Oh,
in their van because they're always drinking and driving. So they have all these empty beer bottles. So they're
oh.
filled with air. So they're using that to get air. And that's why they were down there for I don't know how many hours, waiting for the scuba police.
Thanks for joining us. This is Tyler Richards and my brother Lance. We're not Canadian, but hey, we're talking Strange Brew. Strange
That's
Brew.
that's right. Eh? All right, we heard if you watch this movie in 3B, 3 beers and it's good, eh?
Yeah, but hey, we're here to talk Strange Brew. Today, it's one of those movies that is probably too dumb by today's standards. And nobody's like, who is Bob and Doug McKenzie? We have no idea who these guys are. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to watch this movie. Rick Moranis, I know who that is. That's,
Yeah.
but
And Dave Thomas, the Wendy's guy.
yeah. Yeah. I love that his name's Dave Thomas because people
Yeah.
would be like, why is the guy from Wendy's in this movie?
He traded in his square burgers for a donut. It's a jelly.
It's a jelly. I think Dave Thomas is Canadian. I know Rick Moranis is definitely Canadian, but I'm pretty sure Dave Thomas is as well. A lot of those
Yeah.
guys were on
I was trying
SCTV.
to figure out where in Canada they were filming this, and at the very end of the movie, they say their location. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, what is Escanaba in Michigan? No, I'm just kidding.
No, they're in Toronto.
Toronto. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's the only like huge metropolis that probably makes sense to be in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lance, this movie goes way back. This is one of the movies I didn't think about. Rick Moranis does not have his glasses on in this movie, like at all. He usually,
I didn't even think of that.
unless he, except for that one part, but I don't see Rick Moranis with his glasses on the whole time, and which is actually kind of, you may not recognize him. I think you would, but you don't. You may not recognize him. But tell us a little bit about this movie, Lance.
Well, I think it came out in 1982. It's got, like we said, Dave Thomas, Rick Moranis.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Canadian movie, and it's about two Canadian brothers that love beer. Their dad loves beer, apparently, and they're out there just doing their own thing in the Great White North. I think is what it says on their map in the beginning. And
do it. He's in tune. Hey, good day. Welcome to the Great White North. I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug. How's it going?
And yeah, they go on this adventure where they make this crappy movie. They run out of beer money, so they go to the brewery, Elsinore Brewery, which is not a real brewery, by the way. And they go there to try to get free beer so they can get the beer back for their dad. And then throughout that, it's a bunch of zany stuff that happens.
Yeah, what's one of the first parts in the film? Actually, I love this part. It has nothing to do with their movie except that when they're running out the back, this dad comes up to him and he goes, "My kids have been saving their money to see this movie. What am I supposed to tell them? What am I supposed to tell them?" And it's just like, what? Give them money back, you dork. But it's just one of those things that you're like, oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. That was one of my kids. I don't know.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, here's $15, man. That's all I got." And he goes, "Hey, that's dad's beer money, eh?"
My gosh.
So so if you miss the very first bit of the movie, you miss kind of why they're doing all this stuff. Like, and that happens pretty fast once they kind of get past their original intro.
Yeah, yeah.
But this movie is based off of a comedy sketch.
Yeah.
And it's not an SNL sketch, I don't think. It's like some sort of Canadian TV.
Actually, it's called SCTV, Second City. Actually, that's the name. That's a name for Chicago, if you didn't know that.
Okay.
Tired of ordinary television? Don't touch that dial. SCTV is now on the air. Start. Rick Moranis.
Actually, that's the name. That's a name for Chicago, if you didn't know that.
Okay.
Second City was like an improv comedy group. John Candy, all these other guys. let's see, a lot of people, tons of people were part of this thing. That's how they got their start, because Chicago's known as Second City, and I almost thought it was like secretly Canadian or something. And but like, yeah, John Caney, Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas, Harold Ramis, lots of people were on this particular show that lasted only a few seasons. But this was definitely one of those sketches.
Yeah, and it's a pretty funny one. I mean, they pull out all the Canadian tropes that you can think of. It's a hoser, donuts, beer. You know, it's everything you think of when you think of Canada.
What's that, poutine? Is that what those like fries are? I
Poutine,
don't know.
yeah.
Poutine, yeah,
It's
poutine.
it's fries with a salty brown gravy with like melted cheese curds in it.
Hey, I'm down with the cheese curds.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I'll try it. I don't care. I've only
It's
been
salty.
to Canada once. It's salty.
Yeah, we both lived in Minnesota for quite a bit of time, so you do get a lot of Canadian culture, and you do get like the A's and some of the way they say certain words. So it's not totally an unfamiliar world or culture, you know, to
No.
us. But to some people, to hear that all the time and to hear them say certain things, it's like, what are you saying?
Well, sometimes I always thought there was people going, "Hey, you know, we're going up there, up to the north, you know, and then the lake," and I was like, "Are these people being for real right now?" Like, what is... and then I started catching myself doing the, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Gosh, dang it!" But
Yeah, it's you start to talk like them a little bit, and you're like, that's embarrassing.
it's embarrassing for sure. It's embarrassing. I mean, there's people I know that were like right up to the border. In fact, actually, it's funny. I lived when I lived in Ohio, we were closer to the Canadian border than I had ever had been, because from where we lived, it was 30 minutes to Lake Erie, and Lake Erie butts up all the way up to Canada. And it's about, I don't know what the boat trip is or what you could say, but it's only a few hours drive if I really wanted to go to Canada. Didn't have a desire to. There was nothing there for me. But
It's just cold and snowy.
it's cold and snowy. But what I love about the beginning of the movie too is that there's this guy and he's like whining and crying. He's like one of those typical like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "They did this on their show," or blah, blah, "they already did this thing." And I was like, so apparently these people have been watching their show. So how did Bob and Doug even get to the point of making the movie? We don't even know, but it doesn't even matter. Like,
No.
who cares? Who cares? Because it's so stupid.
I think one thing that'll make sense if you're used to more American movies is Wayne's World, where they have public stations where if you had a camera, you were somehow able to like hook up to these channels, and if it was open air, you could put your show on there. So I'm
That's
guessing
true.
maybe that could have been something that was possible.
That's true. I think even now you can, if there's public stations, you can get a time slot. I don't know how that works. I mean, people don't do that hardly anymore. I mean, we're doing podcasts. I can get way more people.
This is the new Strange Brew, the Great White North.
Hey, take off. Hey.
Yeah.
But I have some of the other cast here. Lynn Griffin as Pam. She's the female heroine in this movie. Agnes McInnes, Jean Rosie LaRose. He's supposed to be some sort of hockey player. I'm not sure about this guy if he's ever played hockey. He's just an actor as far as I was concerned. And Paul Dooley, people may not know him. He's pretty famous. He's done a lot of stuff. Paul Dooley is Uncle Claude.
He's still alive, by the way.
Is he? Yeah, he's old. He's pretty old.
He's 98.
Wow. I was just watching a Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and I was like, hey, that guy, he was in Strange Brew. Can't see him. He's like a Cardassian but one of the cool cast lists for me is like, I didn't think about this, but Mel Blanc voices Father Mackenzie. You don't know his real name, but Mel Blanc, if you recognize his voice, was a Looney Tune voice actor, and Yosemite Sam is probably the one that reminds me most of him.
Okay.
Hey, you know, so I'm like, hey, that's super cool. Mel Blanc obviously is gone, but it's kind of a cool way that they got him involved. I love that voice.
Is he Mr. Sprocket from the Jetsons as well?
Oh, that could have been.
That sounds like a voice similar as well.
That's true. I think he was a pretty famous voice actor, and so that's cool that they were able to get somebody like that as the voice behind. But Lance, tell us about the first time you saw this movie. I know that you introduced this movie to me way before I had seen it. So, or if you can remember your first time.
Man. So this is going back into like the caveman times when I first saw this movie, probably 22 years ago. Would have been the first time or so.
Yeah.
And I I literally cannot remember who introduced me to this movie, other than I used to watch it a lot with my best friend Ryan, and I don't know if it was in college. I mean, it could have been in college when I first saw this movie, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I might have watched it late high school. But ever since then, it's always been a movie that's been a part of my collection. Love pulling out every once in a while just to get some, get some funny laughs. It's a different type of humor than what you would normally be used to for comedies, but it definitely passes. It's a great flick to watch.
Yeah, I think that you just gotta you gotta know it's gonna be stupid. Like, and that's part of the charm of it, is that it's dumb. And I think we need more stupid movies. We need more dumb movies that you're just like the point where Bob like drinks all the beer and he's like in that huge thing. It's not really him, but that's the point, is that it's meant to be funny and it's meant to be ridiculous. And so like that's what Strange Brew really is all about. And the dog flies and all those things. But
Yeah, but it's funny that the dog flies and they paint him like a skunk, and then he takes off from the ground. But then while he's in the air, a cape magically appears on him, like a little red cape, like he's Superman.
and then
It's funny.
doesn't he almost like lay down and you're like, this is
Yeah, I mean,
dumb.
there's just funny cuts with that dog. I mean, obviously they're trying to do the best that they can, but I think it's part of the fun is that they're giving the dog beer in the beginning of the movie, and then their dad wants a beer, and they chug theirs real fast so they don't have to share theirs, and then they had already poured the beer in the dog's dirty dog dish, so they're trying to pour it back in, but they're trying to get it away. The dog, all of a sudden, he like looks up, and then his face is immediately like, going from like looking at him to one thing that a lot of people would understand is in the movie Elf, when the raccoon walks up to Buddy
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
all furry, and then all of a sudden the raccoon's like, it's the same thing. Little,
Yeah, do they paint him like a skunk in the movie? I can't remember.
yeah, they put two
They-
like white stripes on him towards the
Yeah.
end to scare everybody out.
One of the better parts of the film is when they go to, I didn't know if they still do this in Canada, and I didn't know they did this at all, where they distribute the beer. Like they make an order and it comes out the thing. Is that a real thing? I have no idea.
I have
don't
no
know
idea.
if it could still be very much, it's actually pretty smart, because you have to have money and you got to know what you want, and you just can't pick it up and steal it. So maybe they had people stealing it. That's why they had the beer distribution centers.
Yeah, I mean, I know Canada is a lot more socialized than us in terms of
true.
politics, and I don't know if it was part of their liquor sales or how that works. I know that beer is much more expensive in Canada than it is here.
Really?
But again, I've only been in Canada the same time we were there together, and we would have not been in a liquor store at that point.
No, I was like 15, you were 14 or something. I can't remember what it was, but that was a long time ago.
Long time ago.
But yeah, what else for you was brought back any memories?
So, I mean, this is a PG channel, but me and my friend Ryan, we'd be having beers ourselves, and we'd be like, oh, let's put on Strange Brew. So we'd like start cooking a pizza, and then we'd be watching the movie and just laughing in the middle of the night, trying not to wake up his wife and kids. So
Mhm.
that's something that we did, like from a memory standpoint, but that was a lot of fun. It is an enjoyable. So I hate to say it like this, but there's certain movies that are just fun to have a couple beers with and to enjoy. I mean, that's kind of the whole
Sure.
premise of the movie. The
Sure.
movie's about beer, and some of like, you're just kind of celebrating a little bit of that culture.
Yeah.
But with that said, this movie, there's a lot of funny parts of the Canadian culture. You get like the importance of donuts. That's something that like I think a lot of people enjoy donuts in the Western world, but over there they have like I think it's called John Hortons or Hortons coffee places.
Tim Hortons.
And
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
And I don't know if they do donuts there as well, but
Probably.
when they first go to the Elsinore Brewery, they're there. They meet up with the secretary because that's front of the office, and they need to get information, and they're trying to figure out how to get free beer. And so what they do is they bribe her with donuts, and then she gives them all the information they want. So that was pretty funny.
I love it when they do it twice. And he's like, "Hey, this one's a jelly," and like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like
Doesn't
this
matter
is a really good one.
It's my last one.
It's a
But,
jelly.
It's a jelly. But one of the things, the bad guy, Max von Sydow, I think he has actually passed in more recent years.
Mhm.
But he actually plays a pretty good bad guy, Brewmeister Smith, and he has that menacing like look. He's got the voice. he's a good bad guy for sure. And I like one of the things that he does. He's like, I'm gonna crush your skull. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's like, what am I random? I have a power to crush your skull, and I'm like, okay. And he does it to one of the guys, and he like that he has the hockey stuff, and I'm like, stupid. But
Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy supernatural elements in this movie, which makes it
yeah,
just outrageous. And you're like, yeah, like the Max von Sydow, his crushing people's heads, and
yeah,
there's like this mystery, like the ghost of the dad that's murdered,
yeah,
flying
yeah,
around the brewery, like turning on electronics, and
yeah. And then Bob drinks a chocolate milk that's been expired and sitting in warm vending machine for 4 months, and then he Ralphs it up. Man, that's been sitting there for 4 months, eh?
if I didn't have puke breath, I'd kiss you.
I didn't remember because it's been so long since I've seen this movie. When they're in the vat and he's filling it up with beer, and she's like, "I think it's getting warmer in here," and he's like, "It wasn't me."
Yeah, he goes,
Like he's
I
peeing.
didn't, I didn't notice anything.
He's peeing in there. And then he eventually drinks his own pee. But
Yeah, he drinks the whole vat dry.
oh my gosh. But
Hurry up, I gotta take a leak.
okay. I love that part when he burps and the thing comes flying off. And one of the things about this movie that I don't think they ever answer those, like Bob and Doug, what do they don't do anything. It sounds like they're lazy no for good. So but who's making this money? Where's this money coming from to buy all this beer? Because in their house there's all these beer things, there's these cases and beer bottles. Everybody's drinking beer at their house. I'm like, where's this money coming from? How do they, like, in $15 to get a case of beer? And you're like, what in the world? There's apparently, I don't know, it just doesn't ever get answered in that movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about that. It's 15 in Canadian back in 1982 for a case of 24 beers. I mean, depending on where you live out in the United States, you can spend that much money and still get a 24 pack of some light crappy stuff,
Yeah.
But
So
beer is getting more expensive, it seems.
but I love they take the beer and they got the mouse, and hey, I heard if you bring this in you get a free case of beer, eh?
Yeah. Well, you just did something that's really funny. Dave Thomas, throughout this whole movie, he's making all these weird facial expressions, like like always kind of raising his eyebrows and twitching his face, and he does a good job of really keeping up that character.
Yeah, that's hard because I'm like, how does he do that and try to, be? But hey, that's his character. So I mean, he obviously cared about it enough to play it in a film.
Uh-huh.
But one of the things about this movie, Lance, I don't know if you noticed when they go and they're at the corner and they're going to go to the brewery and they're looking at the signs. Like, did you see? It's like a painting. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they're like, hey, we're just going to paint this, and we don't care if it looks obvious that it's painted. Like, it's just I bet they stole it from something, and and they just stuck it there, and what, the loony bin or something like that. I don't know if they call it that, but man, it's all
Yeah,
the
the
little,
loony
like,
bin.
yeah, but it's all those little things that are just funny about that movie. Like, they're just debating on which way to go, and I'm like, the brewery. Like, come on,
Yeah,
man.
that's where you're going.
That's where
well,
you're
it's
going.
funny. And if you look they show once they cannot get up to the parking lot of the brewery, it shows the sign Elsinore Brewery on there.
Mm-hmm.
And the sign changes sizes a few different times. So when you first see it, it's initially like kind of smaller up on the screen, and then the next time you see it, it's like really big white letters, and they're in the same exact spot. So there's funny little inconsistencies like that.
For sure. And I didn't think about this, but Pam, she gets stuck in the gate. Obviously, her dad's trying to save her. I didn't think about this until now. I'm like, her dad probably did that. So they don't talk about that, but it's funny that when they're fighting about it, like, hey, she saw me first, hey, she likes me, and they push her through the gate with their stupid truck. And oh my gosh, what were one of the funny parts for you, Lance, that you always stand out to you in this movie?
I do like it when they're doing they get all the loonies from the loony bin, and they're all wearing these weird pajamas, and maybe that's just like kind of like classic 70s 80s garb, like just kind of the brown with the checkers and kind of gross puke colors. But then like they get all their hot, like they playing these sounds on the keyboard, the bad guys are, and like those weird synth chords, and then you hear all the crazy guys going,
Yeah,
and they're running. What actually, and while I'm telling the story, you see them running through this tunnel, and I was like, oh, I know exactly what kind of tunnel that is. That is an underground tunnel that they make up north from one building to the next. So like this loony bin, or the sane asylum, was connected to the brewery for some reason. They had a tunnel going from both places, and they made things underground because in wintertime it's too cold. So where I went to college, we had connecting tunnels that went underneath the building. So when it was really cold outside, you could walk without being in the cold and walk from building to building.
I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense now why there would be a tunnel.
Yeah.
Right.
Why there's a connecting tunnel. I mean, I don't know why they would have connected the buildings other than, I guess, mentally insane people need beer, or maybe they got there because of the beer. But it's funny because they're getting all their hockey stuff on, and then they're all on the ice, and then there's like this container, and they're all getting little cups of the beer that's got the drug in it. They're all like whoop whoop whoop, and they go out onto the ice and they start playing hockey.
and he's gonna use Mac, the Brewmeister Smith. Oh, like, did you hear him later say, "My name's BM Smith"? He doesn't have a first. He doesn't have a first name. It's just Brewmeister. But he's like trying to take over the world, and I'm like, so you're gonna play hockey? You're just gonna have him play hockey? Is that what's going on here? What in the world? And LaRose apparently was in the loony bin at one point and graduated out of that or somehow, but he's part of the whole deal. He just got suckered into it somehow. But yeah, I'm like, so what is happening? He's going to take over the world with Elsinore beer. And so like at the end of the movie, they're like, they send the dog, and at Oktoberfest, which is a bunch of elderly people, it looks like, drinking beer. And I'm like, oh, so you're going to use them to take over the world. And then they get to the tent and it's really small. And I'm like, this is not a big Oktoberfest. What in the world is happening? But
and you would think it'd be a lot bigger place when they say the beer's from Elsinore and it's all free on the house. They're all like, yeah. If you get a bunch of alcoholics and you say free beer, they're like, yeah, we're gonna be there for a while. They're gonna grab all your friends.
Hey, can I take some home?
Yeah.
One of the funny parts for me, and I was expecting it, but just because it's so stupid, but they interrupt their parents making love or whatever. And it's actually them dressed up. Dave plays his dad, and I mean, they have their clothes on, but it's funny because they like him, get out. It's just so stupid. And so that's the last time you ever see from their parents. So like it's done and over with. And they're just, you can see them take the walk of shame, like, oh my gosh, what just happened? That's one of the funnier parts where they're like, yeah. But
it's funny. It's funny because once they get a job at the brewery, they, on their first day, they bring back their whole van just chock full of Elsinore beer, and then there's cases and cases and cases of this stuff. And so they finally come home one day, and all the beer cases are just strewn everywhere in the house. They're like kicking over beer bottles.
Yeah,
go, man, Dad's been really getting into the beer. And then that's when they walk into their parents' room. They're like, oh.
Yeah, one of the parts, Lance, I'd forgot about this part, but when they go into the water and you're like, oh, what happens to him? And LaRose, I don't understand this. It's a missing plot device that they're like, hey, what do we do? LaRose is going to save Pam. She's going to go to the surface, and then he's going to sink. Like, what in the world is happening? Yeah. Why not just bring her up? Whatever. And so he sinks to the beer, to their van, and then they go down and they rescue these guys. They're looking for the bodies, but the Mackenzie boys and LaRose, they were feeding him beer. Apparently there's enough oxygen in beer.
Well, so what I think would have happened is they had a bunch of empty beer bottles in their van, because they're always drinking and driving. So they have all these empty beer bottles. So they were filled with air. So they're using that to get air. And that's why they were down there for I don't know how many hours, waiting for the scuba police to come get them.
And I was like, are they drinking beer?
Yeah.
And keeping alive? It's one of the stupider parts, but it's funny because you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, LaRose, the hockey player that Pam falls in love with, he's actually in Star Wars: A New Hope. He's I think he's Gold Squadron leader, or
you're right,
or Red leader, or whatever. He's one of the guys that dies on their way to the Death Star.
Lost Ivory, lost Hutch. It came from behind. I don't think that was him.
I was always a big fan of Porkins. I just love his name was Porkins, and
Right
back
with
in the
you,
'70s,
Porkins.
he would have been a really fat guy. So, average size today, but really fat back then. Called him
Oh, poor
Porkins.
guy. Poor guy.
Yeah,
They made him a stereotypical character. But
yeah.
hey, we're not talking.
Well, yeah. Real quick, and in Family Guy, they portrayed the Porkins character as like this crazy obese guy where he doesn't even fit in his X-wing, and his body's like hanging out. That's really
My
funny.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, back
That's
to
funny.
Strange Brew.
Back to Strange Brew. Hey, I want to make sure I give a quick shout out though. Our brother-in-law, Mark Porter, asked us to do this one, by the way. So this one's for you, Mark, and if you don't watch it, you're
That's
in
right.
big trouble, buddy. Big old trouble.
This one's for you, Mark.
This one's for you.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Yeah. He's getting ripped out there in California.
He's shredded. You can't get there with the Elsinore beer, so he's probably doing some like Elsinore water or something like that.
I pick things up and put things down. I do it. Sorry, Mark. We're just giving you a hard time, buddy.
Elsinore protein shake.
One of the other parts, Lance, do you remember when they're like, hey, I got an idea, to take out the fire? Did you see what happens to Bob?
Yeah. He's like a huge, I don't know what you want to call him, a big red ball, like massive, like bigger than a house. And then they bring him over to the fire, and he goes, what you could do in 2 minutes, son, would have taken us that took us hours, or would have taken us hours to do.
Yeah.
Peas out
I love
the
it.
fire.
And I'm like, I love that's what Doug thinks is a great idea, to make everything smell like urine now, to make like beer stained urine. But did you notice? So his pajamas are like huge sized when he's big,
Yeah.
and then they all of a sudden magically are back to his regular size.
Well, it's kind of like the Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk, his pants are like
Yeah.
and like on the Edward Norton, he's like this skinny little shrimp, and like all of a sudden his pants balloon up, and then they're back to the same.
Stretchy pants.
Yeah, pretty much. But if you think about like Gulliver's Travels, Strange Brew kind of ripped that off of that book. I think he pees out of fire when he's with the little people.
In the book?
I think so.
Oh, I don't remember. I just know that Jack Black did it in Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah, but I don't remember that one, but I do remember like one of the movies they made before that one, where because some of the ladies fan, they're like, oh.
Yeah, I would still be like, hey, fire guys, you can still rinse this off a little bit, because
you're gonna need to.
You're gonna need to, man. You're gonna need to do that.
I got some yellow liquid for your popcorn, and it's non-dairy.
That's another movie. If you guys ever want to guess at some movies, we won't spoil that one, but guess what that movie is.
We'll always throw quotes from that one, and you guys just have to sit and guess.
Well, hey, this is Rick Moranis. Speaking of Rick Moranis, it's a big deal right now. He came out of retirement, Lance. I think you know this, but Spaceballs 2, the new one, is coming out. That's the actual title. Spaceballs, the new one. It's not Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money.
Which is disappointing.
Well, Mel Brooks has to do what he has to do. Mel Brooks is over 100 years old, but Rick Moranis, I guess, got a standing ovation at Comic-Con, coming out of retirement, and the whole cast is back, minus a few people that have passed. And there's an ode to John Candy, and I think Joan Rivers, and all the others that have passed on. But looking forward to that movie, as long as it's fairly appropriate. Spaceballs has its moments, but I do love that movie, and Rick Moranis is a lovable character in that movie, even if he's meant to be a bad guy. But anything with Rick Moranis, I'm in. I want to watch him. He's hilarious.
Fooled you.
Hey, I don't know, Lance, have you ever seen the movie Big Brother or Brother Bear? I think Brother Bear. It's animation.
I think Lindsay made me watch that one time.
Well, Brother Bear has Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas as Moose brothers, and they basically do Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yeah, makes sense as the Moose too.
Yeah, I guess it's supposed to take place in Canada and so if anybody wants to watch that, I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying that it's in there. But
okay. Maybe watch that clip of them in there.
Yeah, just find it on YouTube. You don't need to watch the whole movie. You just find it on YouTube. I don't think I'd ever seen anybody else except for the first three on my cast list, and Paul Dooley and Mel Blanc, but the rest of the cast is pretty no name as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, maybe they're Canadian actors, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
anybody else.
who knows? I mean, it's such a, it's not like a huge movie, so it'd be hard to tell who's who. I mean, you have to look at
Yeah.
every single person's name in it. Max von Sydow, interestingly enough, he plays a good bad guy in this. He actually he was starred in the movie The Greatest Story Ever Told as Jesus of Nazareth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is interesting because I think he was an atheist at the time, or at least agnostic, and he
oh really?
he never turned from that, unfortunately. But yeah, he played some pretty big roles. I think 70-year career in cinema, television, and theater, appearing in more than 150 films. So quite the career.
Quite the career. Well, Lance, according to Wikipedia, which we all know is completely true,
Of course.
the budget was $4 million and the box office 8.5. So they made their money back and more.
Yeah.
Way to go. Way to go. And it still has developed a cult following. And it says in 2023, the Globe and Mail named the film as one of the best Canadian comedy films ever made. That says a lot, apparently, about Canada's filmmaking prospect.
I mean, they got their own niche of humor. Hopefully that's the story there.
Yeah. And I don't know if everybody in this movie was Canadian. I probably doubt it, but it is worth a watch. Laugh, it's going to be dumb. It's going to have things that are just goofy, but just to go enjoy it, because you need stupid movies in your life. That's what I'm saying. You need stupid movies, things like Spaceballs and Strange Brew, and you just need to laugh at dumb things, because it's funny. I don't know. Just go and do it.
Well, it gives you a really good appreciation when the movies really do come together and they're really good. And but sometimes humor is found in just the funny parts of a movie where they don't have the budget to make the correct effect, so they have to splice and edit in such a way, which I think makes it funnier. Like again with like the whole dog thing, where all of a sudden his cape appears while he's flying. I mean, that's just funny stuff, And when Rick Moranis, he's Bob. He's in the vat, and he's got this tiny little head on this massive body. You can't see his arms or his feet because he's just sitting on a big ball. It looks like
in the hair. But I mean, that's what, if anybody has appreciated sketch comedy is all about that. There's been tons of characters that have come out of sketch comedy that are ridiculous, and you're like, this isn't real life. Well, of course it's not. Like Wayne's World, if you've seen that movie, or the Coneheads, or other sketch comedy films, you just go, well, of course it doesn't have to make sense. That's not the point. We're here to enjoy the characters. We're here to enjoy the whole premise behind why they even made a movie in the first place, is because there was such a huge following of those things. And there's been several successful sketch comedy movies made, and there's been some that weren't so successful. But this one, it was apparent that it was successful. But I don't have any other closing comments. I enjoyed this movie. Sandra thought it was really stupid, and that's okay. I don't care. I will watch it again at some point, but it was fun to revisit it for sure, and enjoy Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas as who they are in this movie. Did you have any closing thoughts for our fans?
Go out and have a strange brew.
Strange Brew. Anyway, well, hey, we'll see you guys next time, and make sure you like and subscribe to our page and share the living
Share it, love it. Kiss it.
Do it. Watch our shorts. If you don't want to watch our whole podcast, our shorts are available. Trying to make those better. But hey, we're really enjoying doing all these things with you guys. And we have some more movies coming up, including our first rated R. It's appropriate. It's not a bunch of weird stuff, but it is rated R. So
I'm terrified.
But we will have special guests coming up at some point, and ready to do that with you guys. And hopefully Lance and I will get together and be in person and be able to have some good rapport and all that stuff. But anyway, we'll see you guys next time, and we'll talk to you later. All right.
Peace out.